Christopher Friedl here with at the Texas Blockchain Summit, and we're here. I'm here with Austin, who's going to tell us a little bit about his company, what they're building out, what you guys are building right now, and what you're here for, who you're here looking to meet, that sort of thing.
Sounds good. Thanks, Christopher. So my name is Austin Mitchell. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Synota. Synota is building a settlement platform for the energy industry. And by settlement, what we mean is really the financial side of every energy transaction. So if you think about it, when energy gets delivered to your home, it's one of those things where then you pay for the energy that you consume, 1 or 2 months later. With our technology, energy can automatically move, or as energy moves, money can automatically move to pay for it. And so what you're doing is you're eliminating issues of cash lag, credit risk, and so it's going to create massive efficiencies within the energy economy.
So tell us a little bit about what that looks like. What are the benefits to the consumer? What are the benefits to the producers? What are the benefits?
Yeah, so the biggest benefit that we think about is sort of when you introduce, high velocity money into the economy, the thing that you're able to eliminate is credit.
Mm-hmm.
And so when people consume energy today, the biggest thing that they don't realize is that they're getting a loan. You're being supplied energy, and then you're not paying for it later. So there's no such thing as a free loan. And in fact, when you look kind of across the US and where people are paying for energy, about 10% of the cost can be associated with the financial efficiencies that begin with the fact that you're getting a loan for that energy. So the biggest benefit is saving money, reducing risk, and then ultimately more flexibility in terms of how you pay for energy, how we price energy. So you can think of a much more dynamic, much more granular, energy system in the future.
So it's really just a smoother process.
Very smooth. It's sort of a hands-free process where as energy moves, money's moving, and it all happens sort of synchronously. So you want to paint a visual of just money moving very quickly throughout the economy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all enabled by Bitcoin and the Lightning Network, which is, a payment network, sort of like Visa and MasterCard, but it's cheaper, quicker, and it's decentralized.
Now, how did you come across this? What's your background before this? You like wake up one day and you're like, hey, I'm going to put payment network on the meters.
Yeah, so it's a great question. So I've been in the energy industry my whole life, and the thing that is interesting is my career has kind of spanned the value chain. So from upstream to midstream, all the way to downstream and utilities. And in that time, one of the things you see is how energy moves really efficiently, both gas and electric, moves efficiently throughout the economy.
Mm-hmm.
But what is amazing is how slow money moves.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you as a consumer pay for that energy, not only does it take a while to get to the utility, but then it takes even longer to get to the transmission companies, the producers, the brokers. So everybody's waiting to get paid. And so that equation is something that really kind of led to me in my last couple of jobs where I was helping manage risk. And so seeing these cash flow issues, so we had to manage those. Seeing the credit risk, we had to manage those. So as somebody managing risk, I thought I'd be spending a lot of time focused on infrastructure risks, weather risk, market risk, but I was really spending a lot of my time focused on financial risk, all caused by the fact that you have this disconnect between the physical and the financial.
There's that bill collection aspect to it, where
Absolutely.
It's just a ton of invoices that are outstanding, and everybody's waiting. The left hand is waiting for the right hand's invoice. The right hand is waiting. Just kind of goes in a circle.
It does, yeah. It's this daisy chain of payments that's incredibly inefficient. And the other thing is that in the U.S., 5 to 7% of energy bills go unpaid. And the reason that number is so high is because of the system that I'm talking about, which allows you to accrue a balance that then becomes really large, and then it becomes even more difficult to pay.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate here a little bit. Are
Yeah.
you talking about if someone doesn't have the balance, you turn off the electricity right then they don't have access to electricity anymore?
Well, so what you want to think is that so when people don't pay for the electricity today, they get shut off.
Yeah.
But the issue is that it takes the energy providers, weeks, if not months, to actually be able to make that determination of, is this person creditworthy? Are they going to pay their bill? And so what I'm talking about is providing a system that enables the energy provider to know much sooner whether or not that person's going to pay their bill. The other thing, the flip side of that equation, is that there's actually a lot of benefits available on, through federal, state programs provided to people, energy assistance programs provided to low-income, no-income people. One of the biggest challenges is actually administering those benefits to the people that need them the most. So if I qualify, I have to get 2 pieces of identification. I have to get my energy bill, and I have to go to a local office to get the money to pay the bill. It's a process with a lot of friction. So with the technology we're talking about, you now have a means to actually distribute those benefits directly to the people that need them. So now we can solve the issue of people having shutoffs, even though there was benefits available to them that could have prevented that.
So really, it's just more creating more efficient system. It's
Very
really
efficient.
about reducing the friction both on the energy side, the invoices, but also how they're getting people are getting benefits from the state. They're able to access it.
That's
There's
right.
an easier way to do it than waiting for paper.
Yeah.
The multiple identification showing up and the drag on it. Now, what is are you seeing, so you're looking at it from a cost perspective, that 5 to 7% of outstanding payments don't pay, that then goes to the consumers who are paying.
That's right.
Now.
Those costs get spread around.
And when you're looking at this implementation, and I think right now you said you're focusing primarily on Bitcoin miners.
That's correct.
How are they implementing this technology?
Yeah, so Bitcoin miners are the perfect customer for us as we get going as a company. So we just closed our seed financing round. So, a brand new company entering in the space with this technology. And so what's interesting about Bitcoin miners is that their revenue is coming in Bitcoin, of course. And so we have an opportunity to be directly connected with the pools that, from where they're getting the payouts from, and in the opportunity to now create a frictionless payment flow. So where they're paying their energy bills in Bitcoin, they enter the Lightning Network, move over to then their suppliers or any other counterparties in the contract. And rather than those counterparties receiving Bitcoin, our technology will flip it into USD right before it goes to to the counterparties' accounts. So you're actually settling energy contracts in 2 currencies simultaneously. So everything I just said, Bitcoin from the pool to money in the bank account of the energy supplier, happens in less than 10 seconds.
So would you be running it with the pool? Are you running, you're integrating specifically with one of the major pools?
Yeah, so our goal is to integrate really with all of the major pools, and is to really provide this frictionless automated settlement system. So that way a Bitcoin miner never has to worry about, is their energy bill being paid? They don't have to worry about sort of the overhead costs, the administrative challenges that can present. And ultimately, it's going to give them more flexibility, because now you can think about some really complex contracts that are administratively really difficult to work through,
Right.
and say we can fully automate those. And we can now set up the payments so they happen much more frequently. So for a Bitcoin miner who maybe is getting pushback of, hey, you're a credit risk, you're basically in a situation where we want you to be prepaying or something like that. Here's an opportunity to say, no, well, what if we pay every 10 minutes, or what if we pay every hour? But we can sort of really reduce that credit exposure for the energy supplier, and they're going to like it because it's less risk to them and it's better cash flow.
I think in one of the presentations yesterday, they talked about one of the frictions in the energy space is the amount of credit risk that's being associated with mining. And as you're talking about reducing that, I think that a lot of people don't understand the expense of credit risk.
Yep.
And the expense of those invoices that are sitting out there, because that cash really, as people understand, the cost of capital has been going up. So it's, gone up a significant amount this year, and that's on somebody's balance sheets, and that has to be passed on to somebody.
That's right.
And the consumer is currently paying that cost of capital that's sitting, in their energy bill as it goes up. So it's not just a factor of energy prices going up, it's also a factor of the cost of capital. And you're talking about taking that portion of that sliver of the equation, removing that from the equation, making that essentially a zero.
That's right.
At that time. That's I never would have imagined that. So it's just really cool to see here at the summit, just seeing who's building what, and how do people come across it, and the story behind it. So thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Is there anything that people get a hold of you, get on Twitter or website?
So absolutely.
Twitter seems to be the same, the direct contact.
Yeah.
Right?
So Twitter is definitely the place where I'm, easiest, or LinkedIn. I can be found in both places. And I think the one thing, just to kind of close out, the message that we have to Bitcoin miners today is, if you are already liquidating your Bitcoin to pay your energy bills, So if I mine Bitcoin, I get my revenue, I take it to an exchange or to Coinbase, and then I use that to get USD, and then I use the traditional payment rails to pay for my bill. What am I doing? I'm just kind of perpetuating the old way of doing things. And so we really are trying to, the message is when you're a Bitcoin miner, here's an opportunity to use the other layers of the Bitcoin ecosystem and add value in ways that are really important and going to be impactful, because Bitcoin's future depends on us using those other layers, us building out the full ecosystem. And so here's a huge way to make contributions to the Lightning Network and see Bitcoin, evolve into a medium of exchange, evolve into a method for payments. And so just want to encourage anybody who's a Bitcoin miner who's listening to this. And if you're liquidating today, we've got a better way to do it. It's going to cost you less money. It's actually going to save you money, save you time, save you hassle, and make your counterparties happy.
And increase the ecosystem. I mean, what you're building in the first place it's the evolution of the technology, what it's being used for today.
That's right.
And one thing we didn't touch on was the cost, from a cost efficiency standpoint for a miner.
Yeah.
Is there what is the cost of the miner? What is the savings?
Yeah. So the really neat thing about kind of everything that you can think about with what we're building is going to be based on sort of, well, what are the exact services, what are the products that we're using? So number one, the platform integrates with all different types of, whether it is, demand response, providers. So I guess what I'm trying to say is it's sort of like an a la carte when you can kind of think of the different services that we're plugging into. And so in the event that, hey, we're providing that liquidation service into USD, the cost will be more. Now, if your counterparty wants to receive, Bitcoin, well, hey, now that actually is an easier transaction for us to help enable for you. So we're making it easy for miners to use the Lightning Network, which is the lowest cost method of payment on the planet. And so, of course, that's going to mean lower costs for Bitcoin miners to transact.
And so you're looking at whatever, if I'm hearing you properly, Bitcoin miners select which services that they want.
Yeah.
And then the price will be based on that.
Yeah, I think where we are is, so we're an early stage company, so we're really trying to make people aware of this opportunity. We're trying to take away the complexity of the Lightning Network. I've talked to a bunch of Bitcoin miners here. They know what the Lightning Network is. They think it's exciting, but none of them are using it. And so here's an opportunity to start using it, start building that next layer of the ecosystem. And Bitcoin miners will give us that opportunity to really create a network effect. So that way, it's not just Bitcoin miners paying their energy bill, but it's also then going to be, people in their homes. It's going to be manufacturing facilities. And when we start to drive that much volume to the network, well, now we're coming after Visa, we're coming after MasterCard. And, it's going to just be an amazing to sort of see what that's going to do for the ecosystem as a whole.
And seeing when you're talking about the Lightning Network, you get, sometimes you'll get some pushback on people that are not as much of a fan on the Lightning Network. It's not the true Bitcoin. There's some narratives around counterparty risk, but then they'll turn around and they'll use the credit card rails and the standard financial system as it exists currently. So you guys are helping bridge that gap between, the mining and actually hitting the financial system.
Yeah, I mean, the Lightning Network, it truly is amazing what it's going to do for payments. It is a far superior payment network than anything that has ever existed on the planet. And when you talk about instant cash finality, it is something that the world has really never seen before. And it's going to change our economy in ways that, really just when you sit back and think about it, it's kind of mind-blowing.
Okay, so we have to talk a little bit about that. It's completely off topic.
Yeah.
Well, not completely off topic, but it's a little off topic of what you guys are building right now. Tell me a little bit about what you're seeing on the Lightning Network. What are you excited about with that?
Yeah, so I'll start with just sort of like the visual I would paint for the software that we're building is that you think about our energy system today. There's electrons and molecules moving continuously. So with the Lightning Network, the visual that you would paint is that it is money at the same time moving continuously, but synchronously with energy. So just like visualize an energy system and imagine money just moving continuously all the time throughout it. So like every part of our economy can be reconfigured to be focused on micropayments. And so, as an example, somebody that we've talked to here at the conference is, they're providing insurance to, insurance basically to Bitcoin miners. Insurance is one of those things that, okay, you get a bill quarterly for it, you prepay for the quarter ahead. But how different could that be if you're actually paying for that insurance, with every kilowatt hour
As
you
it's
consume.
as it's being used.
As you're needing insurance, you're paying for insurance. Think about every part of our economy where you can start to now create that dynamic, and how when you pull back the credit, you're going to unlock lots of efficiencies. And what really happens when you remove credit is you start to get closer to the true price of things, because now you don't have sort of this gap between what you're paying versus what you're receiving.
Well,
And
there's
so-
that guesswork, right? There's
right.
an amount of guesswork that has to be handled.
That's right.
And you're taking that guesswork out
You're
and saying,
taking it
hey,
out.
you don't need the guesswork. We're going to give you exactly what's in real time, what's happening.
So every part of the economy, what you're doing is you're putting supply and demand right next to each other, and that's the big key here. Because today, in so many parts of our economy, there's friction between supply and demand. But when you have the ability with the Lightning Network, the freedom to transact without credit, now supply and demand are right there, and you can start to build much better markets.
that might scare some people.
I mean, it truly is
you're
transformative,
disrupting
yeah.
some standard, some entrenched interests.
Yes, absolutely.
And it takes a little bit of overcoming from a appreciation of supply and demand to really appreciate what the Lightning Network can do.
Yeah. Well, it's good for
What
markets.
you guys are building.
Yeah. We just want, we exist. I mean, even if you're just curious about it, reach out. We're happy to help people on board with it to better understand it. It really is part of everything. It's an extension of Bitcoin in the whole ethos, because it's about the freedom to transact. And it's going to really just open up. So, okay, one quick example of something really cool is we're actually doing energy payments across borders right now. So that's not possible on the traditional fiat rails. So think about what that can do for energy investment today. And so if you make an infrastructure investment in another country, here's a way for you now to basically, get your return, wherever you are. So you're no longer confined by borders. That's what the freedom to transact is going to do for us.
It removes that barrier that if someone's going across and they're having to do it across borders. That's an artificial friction that does not need to be there.
That's right. There's 1 billion people without energy today. So how do we mobilize capital that exists elsewhere in the world to those places to help them?
And I think that's one thing that it's a recurring theme of we have a certain experience here in the United States, a certain amount of access to energy, and banking. There's a lot of things that we have access to here that are not accessible elsewhere.
Yep.
And if you can help take down those barriers on, like you're saying, on the energy side, banking side, because it's really both of those at the same time.
That's right. Yeah, you're going to allow people in other countries to tap directly into the capital that sits here in the U.S.
So if anybody is really wanting to help, people that are in not great situations, right, less privileged, and access that, this is a natural evolution.
That's right.
Necessary evolution.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we're going to do is we're going to solve the challenges of energy equity and in energy access globally with the technology we're talking about,
which is mind blowing. I mean,
it's
a very large goal to accomplish and go after. So worthy cause.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate the time to talk about it.
Thanks for coming over.
I'm Lee Bratcher, the president of the Texas Blockchain Council. Thank you to everyone who came out to this year's summit, helping us make it the best one yet. Now more than ever, we need professional industry associations like the TBC to help craft effective policy instead of the CEOs of centralized exchanges roaming the halls of various state capitals or in DC. Texas is quickly becoming the center of the universe for Bitcoin, blockchain, and digital assets. If you want to be part of the future that we are crafting here in Texas, join the TBC today.